other things happening in soccer, and these are our quick points of the evening. Beckham returns to LA Galaxy for 2 years.
Surprise!
I wasn't surprised, Brett. Were you?
No, I think we pretty much predicted exactly why he stayed.
Yeah, and people were complaining that Beckham said that one of his reasons that he wanted to stay was to continue his part of growing the sport. And then people were like, oh, he had nothing to do with growing the sport.
I think his exact quote was, my job as league ambassador isn't done yet.
Yeah, well, come on.
Imagine he's league ambassador. I just love how he referred to himself as that. My job as a league ambassador isn't done yet.
Well, maybe that's not altogether fair. Maybe he's not really the ambassador that he thought he would be.
He's quite the name of the league right now.
But he is still.
Yeah.
And to deny that David Beckham had something to do with the growth of this league is to bury your head in the sand like an ostrich, because he did have something to do with the growth of the sport. He allowed it to be, it was acceptable suddenly for players like Thierry Henry, Torsten Frings, and so many others to come over here and play in the MLS. And frankly, Frings and Henry, they're still playing some top-class soccer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I bet you anything, sponsors were closing up their billfolds until they found out the news about Beckham.
I bet you that was the case. Yeah, and people say, well, we don't need a guy like Beckham in this league anymore. No, we really don't. But it doesn't hurt to have a guy like Beckham in the league. It doesn't hurt to have Henry in the league. It doesn't hurt us. And people just always want to take a piss on Beckham and Henry and all these older guys that come over to here, and they're still playing at a top level. So let's cut them some slack. Let's make them welcome here. No need to take a big poop on Beckham and Henry and others who are coming over here. And that's you too, Dan Loney. Quit busting on David Beckham. Because David says, this was the only decent year that Beckham had. He didn't have a decent year. He had a great year. So, Dan, come back on the show, and we can argue about that. LeToux, Sebastian LeToux to Bolton, Brett. He's on trial. Is that going to happen?
I have no idea if that's going to happen. However, if they do pick him up, it's obviously a cheap option to fill in striker depth. Although Bolton's not necessarily a team that's just going to be throwing money out in the transfer season if they don't plan on using the player.
Seems like they've been throwing money out, though. The Ream, LeToux, they love Americans.
I fully suspect that they have all the intention in the world to use Ream.
Is Owen Coyle a secret American?
Well, they just got rid of, what did they just get rid of Knight?
Zat Knight?
Yeah.
Oh, Zat Knight?
Zat. Yeah.
Got to make sure we get that right, because God forbid we don't get that syllable at the end correct. All right. So that's it with that. LeToux to Bolton, maybe. We'll see. It'd be nice to see him, because Bolton needs all the help they can get.
Well, I think he deserves it as a player.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys that started at the bottom in the USL and
worked his way
up.
Seattle.
Anybody worried about LeToux playing for the French national team? They need to just cool it. That's not happening. He's not going to.
It doesn't matter anyways,
It doesn't matter anyhow, but he's not going to play for the French national team. He has a better chance of playing for the U.S. men's national team than he does the French national team. Right?
Yeah.
Right. And then a small debate on some small blog about Liverpool people who were saying, Andy Carroll's not quite working out. He has 2 goals this season, and then when he came over last season, he only had 2 goals. He only played 7 games, but he's played almost 20 games this season. He has 2 goals. And they're looking kind of back, and they're saying, what about Clint Dempsey? How did we lose out on that? Well, they lost out on it because Roy Hodgson, who was the manager at Liverpool, who was maybe interested in bringing Dempsey over, was fired. And so no Clint Dempsey move. That was over. But now they're kind of saying, boy, what could have happened if we got this guy? So Clint Dempsey versus Andy Carroll, Brett. And I'm saying Clint Dempsey for very many reasons.
Well, of course. I mean, Clint Dempsey's been absolutely consistent year in, year out with Fulham. Who, I mean, if you look at just paper-wise, doesn't have the squad that Liverpool has.
No.
And he's producing, and he's not producing it as a striker.
No, most of the time he's playing on the wing, or he's playing. Well, they've been playing at CAM too, here and there.
Oh yeah, he's played all over.
I mean,
I mean, he's played some striker, played more midfield, wing, center midfield area. But he's got 9 goals and 4 assists this season.
Amazing.
He's ranked up there with goal scorers.
Tied for 7th.
He just got his he got a hat trick obviously this against Newcastle, but
right.
It's one of those things. You can't second guess him because he's the type of player that wants the ball and will take chances and opportunities and go for it. And a lot of times it pans out.
Listen, Andy Carroll had a great season at Newcastle before he moved to Liverpool, but anybody who watched Clint Dempsey versus Andy Carroll at any point prior to that and had to make a decision. Listen, Clint Dempsey's better in the air than Andy Carroll is, and Andy Carroll has like 2 to 3 inches on him in height. But Clint Dempsey is a fucking warrior, man.
Yeah.
I mean, the only guys, and not only that, he has sort of this Lineker-esque nose for the goal. He's playing out in the wing, and he seems to always find his way inside and score a freaking goal. It's amazing. He's always in the right place at the right time, and he plays out wide most of the time. But, he's only behind Van Persie, Demba Ba, Sergio Aguero, of course, Wayne Rooney and Yakubu and Zeka. And those are the only guys in the Premier League that have scored more goals than Clint Dempsey this season. Is it time for Clint Dempsey to move to a bigger team? Yes. Will teams like Liverpool sign Clint Dempsey? No. They'd rather go with somebody like Andy Carroll. I don't know why. Well, maybe I do, and I'm just not going to say here on this show.
Yeah. I have to agree with you. I'm not going to comment on that either.
Yeah. All right.
Maybe Liverpool is just not going to be the bigger team or not necessarily the bigger team, because they have the history, regardless of where they finish, that they're always going to be classified as a bigger team.
Yeah.
But you always have teams that are typically mid-table to upper table that could stretch out a hand, and like Tottenham to an extent.
Yeah.
It's not a bad option. I mean, they can contend a little more consistently than Fulham can.
You know what? Harry did play in the NASL back in the 70s and 80s. He does not like American players. He has not said that publicly, but I know a lot of people that have heard him say it privately. And, I may get sued for this, but he does not like Americans, and you're not going to see an American player at Tottenham anytime soon, as long as Harry Redknapp, Harry Redknapp is the manager at Tottenham.
Doesn't Brad Friedel play for Tottenham?
He's not American. Not the Harry Redknapp. He's practically English. He has an English accent. Yeah, okay. Outside of a goalie, because everybody loves American goalies.
Yeah.
But you're not going to see an American field player playing for Tottenham anytime soon. Not as long as Harry Redknapp is the manager. And maybe I'm wrong. You know what, Brett? I could be wrong here. That's just what I heard through the grapevine. And as I usually do, I open my big mouth and say it right here on the show. Yeah. All right. We are out of time. For the next time, from Brett and Derek, this has been the Straight Red Card. Have a great evening.